Business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs, get your pen and paper ready and tune in Sundays at 1 p.m. for Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified. You must evolve to meet the challenges of today's marketplace. This is the only show in the Philly metro area that walks you step by step through success factors that make or break your brand. Want some free advice? Call in Sundays at 1 p.m. to talk to your host, Carolyn Lighty, and a panel of experts for Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified.
Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Evolution Strategies. I'm your host, Carolyn Lighty. Welcome to the show. We're going to continue our conversation to a degree with what we were talking about last week. I was so excited to have Mona Parikh, Managing Director from It Up Delaware, on with us. And she brought in with her two participants in Startup Weekend back in May, Adam Cofield and Steve High. They were on the show talking about their experiences. And I also found out about another wonderful and very exciting event geared also to startups. So I'm titling this show, The Best and Brightest Brains Are Battling and Brewing to Create New Businesses. How many people can say that 10 times fast? Because it's just exciting to see so much of this happening. I know that when I lived here about 15, 20 years ago, none of this was going on, and there is just a wonderful excitement and energy around creating new businesses and helping them to thrive. So we're really excited to have Mona back on the show today. Mona, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Carolyn. Thanks for having me back. Great.
I understand that you were in a major athletic competition over the weekend.
That's right. We did Go Ruck Wilmington. It was a 7 to 8 hour ordeal, so I'm a little bit sore today, but I'm here.
Wow. But you made it through.
I did make it through, and thank God this is radio, not television.
You're so funny. Mona brought with her John Brilliant. He's co-founder and member of the board of directors for It Up Delaware. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon.
Oh, listen to that voice. Wow.
I brought my radio voice today.
Thank you so much. I'm going to have to get mine in order, too. We'll have to put this show on at like midnight. Also joining us after the break will be Paul Morris. He's Director of Corporate and Community Programs at Stanton and Wilmington campuses of Delaware Tech. So we have an awful lot of wonderful information to share with you and an awful lot of excitement we're trying to build around two major events that can really help your business. So Mona, again, tell us a little bit about yourself and Startup Delaware. Why are you involved with these types of events that are going on?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, I am the managing director of It Up Delaware, and what It Up Delaware really does is try to connect the dots and break down barriers for entrepreneurs and startups in the state of Delaware, and really give them the support and the resources they need in order to grow and launch their business in a thoughtful and very careful way.
Mm-hmm. And one of the major resources of Startup Delaware is the Coin Loft?
That's correct. And the Coin Loft is Wilmington, actually Delaware's premier co-working facility. This is their 4th year in operation. And what they offer is actually a place for startups to come together, work, and really collaborate on the companies that they're building and the products that they're trying to launch.
So, John, you were one of the co-founders. What was the catalyst behind It Up Delaware?
The catalyst really started with the Coin Loft. They had sort of plateaued in their platform, in their ability to help both in terms of physical space and in terms of their network. And so through a series of conversations with a broader group, we decided to create a more holistic umbrella organization called It Up Delaware, which has kind of 3 pillars to it. One is It Up Delaware, the physical space. 2 is the community programming that Mona can certainly talk to about the classes we have on everything from Drupal, Ruby on Rails, how to protect your IP. And then 3rd is a longer-term vision that we have called the Nurturator, which is really about building a fund that would allow us to seed some early-stage companies and really get behind some companies locally.
What do you see as being some of the most successful trends in terms of industries where the startups, where when you're looking at seeding, you're looking at where you have the most potential to be successful and get a return on that investment. So is there a specific trend in terms of the industries that you're seeing that are popping up that are being successful, or is it just based on their planning skills and all of that?
Well, there's 2 ways to think about that question. So when we looked at doing this in Delaware, we were challenged, and we said, well, why would someone come to Delaware? You've got Philadelphia right up the road with lots of resources. You could go to Boston. You have Silicon Valley, you have Austin, Texas. There was all these resources being around the country. And so we decided that we needed to exploit what we offer in Delaware that's unique. And when we think about it, it's about access to customers. As any new company, really their biggest challenge is, can I find someone to pay for what I've created? And so when we think about that, we think that we have some real expertise and access in healthcare, in financial services, and education. And we think we can give people, real estate is real estate. There's a commodity to having a desk. There's a commodity to even capital. There's a commodity to some service providers like lawyers and accountants. And really what, at the end of the day, and we were chatting before we got on the air about a food business in outside Philadelphia, and in 30 seconds we said, oh, look, there's 3 people we can connect this person to that he otherwise wouldn't have had access to or wouldn't even have known about. And so that's really what we're trying to build. And so we can talk a little bit more about this whole mentor network that we're trying to build as well, which is giving people, breaking down those barriers, as Mona mentioned, and really giving people access to places and people that perhaps they couldn't have gotten had they not walked in our door. So we want to focus on healthcare, financial services, and education, but we are open to anybody. But we think we can offer a greater value for those 3 sectors.
And you bring up an extremely important point because, as you said, a lot of times it's about connecting those dots. And often as an entrepreneur, you have a certain passion or maybe even a certain skill set or strength, and that's what you decide that you're going to build your business around, which is smart. You need to have a passion for it because it takes an awful lot of time, 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. You better have a passion for it. But often you're doing this in a vacuum and you don't realize so much. Either you don't have the time or you don't realize who's out there that can help you. So becoming a connector and mentoring these businesses is a wonderful thing. So have you started that mentoring network already? Go ahead.
We've started to put it together, actually, and the way we did it was the board and some of the other friends of Started Up Delaware reached out to their networks and the people that they knew who were entrepreneurs in Delaware who had actually already, gone out and done something to ask if they would be willing to volunteer some of their time and expertise to the startups at the Coin Loft. And once we get the Nurturator up and running, the ones we accept into our first class of Nurturators. So we had, an outpouring of support from some of those people. And, we're really excited because it looks like there's a very broad range of skills and interests among those who are stepping up to become mentors. And it's a process that's ongoing. So we're still looking for people to come in. So we might even ask you if you want to jump on our list.
It would be an honor, actually, to be involved. I'm all about helping as many people as I can.
And we actually have a startup idea ourselves, so if anybody's interested in helping us sort of execute on it, we think that we can create an online platform to connect mentors with mentees. We've got kind of the business requirements kind of scoped out on what we think it might look like, but we've yet to find the right entrepreneur who's interested in taking that up. But we'd be open to talking to anybody interested in that.
That's interesting. And that reminds me of the dating service kind of model.
It's like a mentor
Exactly right.
kind of thing.
And years ago, many years ago, and don't anyone steal my idea because I still maybe I'll even pitch it at the Global Startup Weekend.
Don't steal my idea, yet we're on the radio. I love it.
Don't steal my idea. But many years ago, I am going to say at least 15 years ago, I had been working an awful lot with nonprofits and helping them to find funding for their events. That was their main way of raising funds was through various types of events. And they would always have such a hard time of finding someone who would be interested in funding that particular type of an event. And I thought, wow, we need a matchmaking service. So I came up with eventfunding.com.
Look at you.
And it never really went anywhere. I mean, I domained the name and all of that, but I just never did anything with it. But it was designed similarly. Because sponsors obviously lend based on a certain gifting profile.
Right.
So they have their profile. And then the nonprofit would have their profile. And I was going to be partnering with GuideStar. You're familiar with GuideStar? Okay, they are a kind of like foundation.org. They do an awful lot of research and have a lot of data on. It's kind of a place where foundations will go to register, and you can find out everything there is about nonprofits. It's kind of one of those they have half of the matchmaking process.
Got it.
They just need the other side. So that's something that that's similar to what you guys were talking about, I think, with the mentors.
Yeah, you should
Should pitch that.
Start a weekend.
Actually, if you're interested in pursuing that, a friend of mine here in Wilmington, Michael Nyman, has a business called Nonprofit Business Solutions that actually might fit nicely with how he supports and provides services to nonprofits.
And see there, that's what this is all about.
That's what we're talking about.
Connecting and being able to make those resources and those contacts available to more and more businesses is how we're going to make sure that our business community is growing. John, I want to go back and talk to what kind of impact do you feel these types of events, either Startup Weekend or a Global Startup Battle, what impact do you see this having on our business starts and sustaining our businesses?
So one of the challenges we also had been thinking a lot about in creating Startup Delaware was the culture here in Delaware. And historically, as we all know, we've been arguably a big company town and a big company state. Mm-hmm. And so we have not always embraced early stage companies. Now there are people who have started a corner grocery store or a barber shop. So we're not talking about those types of companies, but what we're really trying to do is, with these weekends, is showcase that there is an opportunity to just start with a simple idea and have the opportunity to see that come to fruition. I mean, think about it. If you have an idea, and let's say you're sitting at home and thinking, well, I have this great idea, but I have no idea how to create an iPhone app, or I have no idea how to build a website. Imagine being able to come for the weekend, be able to be surrounded by a team who would include, people who can help program. You may have some UI UX people, which is user experience, user interface people. You may have some creative design people. And in 54 hours, you can actually leave with a prototype. It won't cost you anything other than the entry fee. It's yours. You keep the IP. You actually have a working prototype that you can then go sell to customers. I mean, at our last Startup Weekend, we had 11 companies present ideas. And we actually had one company not only build a prototype, they left the weekend with a paying customer. Wow. Right? So they were otherwise sitting at home thinking, I'm not sure how to do this. I'm not sure. And they couldn't really kickstart it essentially. And so that's really what we hope that this weekend showcases, your ability to come and have an idea come to fruition in such a short period of time. But more importantly, hopefully you leave that weekend with many, many connections that allow you to take your idea in whatever direction you want. And you can find resources, whether it be mentors or whether it be just core resources that you need to execute on your idea.
It's interesting because I think of an idea as being a seed, like a little bit of a seed. So you're coming to an event like this with a seed, and then we put it in this environment that's full of expertise and nurturing, information and all of that. It's almost like you're baking it really quick, almost like microwaving it.
Absolutely.
And then by the time they leave, they could actually have that seed germinate and then become this full-blown.
Well, and it's also the opposite, right? There comes a time, and having been an investor and having been on many boards, there comes a time where you actually have to tell someone their baby's ugly. And that's part of the process of creating a company and creating an opportunity. And so you really don't want to, as I call it, you don't want to name your sheep, because if you name your sheep, you'll never slaughter them. And so you have to sort of think about and not fall in love with your idea, but be willing and open to being challenged that maybe your idea is not the greatest idea, and maybe it can be improved, or maybe it needs to be abandoned. And that's an important part too. And the other cultural thing we're trying to instill in our local environment is also that failure is okay, right? Without the willingness to take risk, you can't have success. But without the opportunity of trying to shoot for success, you have to experience failure. And so that's an important aspect of one of the things we're trying to instill and have people understand, that it's okay to fail, that isn't the end of the world. And in fact, you can pick yourself up and move on to the next idea and be resilient in, we think of companies failing, we think, it's bad for the economy, it's bad for the individuals involved, and it is. There is, pain associated with failure. But it's all part of the natural process of creating businesses and creating an ecosystem that we're trying to create here.
That's right. You mentioned your role as an advisory board member to many companies. What advice would you give to small business owners who are a little skittish about the economy, whether it be the fact that we've put a Band-Aid on our issue, or on our, government, from the U.S. standpoint, from the total economy issue standpoint, and then also, healthcare reform. I mean, they have all these ideas or all these issues that are bouncing around in their heads. What kind of advice do you give to a small business owner that's skittish about the economy in terms of where they might need to move, or where they need to go in terms of their next direction? Do they stay where they are? Do they decide to make some changes in their business? What should they be doing right now?
I think the real thing that you have to do is have conversations with people, both in terms of who are your potential customers, and even mentors who may come from your industry or outside your industry who can give you advice. But first and foremost, great ideas are only great ideas. Mm-hmm. You really have to manifest themselves in a product, in a solution, in a service, and then you actually have to prove that someone will pay for it. And so one of the things, again, that we hope to provide is, hey, I've got this great idea for healthcare, and I've got this great idea for oncology. Let's get you to someone in the oncology department at Christiana Care and have a conversation, and see if that, in fact, is a pain point that needs to be solved, and therefore it's something that someone can pay for. So, Steve Blank at Lean Startup talks about getting out of the building, and that's his phraseology. But it's been around for a long time. People need to get out of their own building and actually see if there's a customer. And one of the things we encourage entrepreneurs to do also is go listen to your potential customers. You may have a idea that you think is solving a non-existent problem. And so rather than going to a customer and telling them, hey, I'm solving this problem that doesn't exist, spend a lot of time listening to your customer or your potential customer. You'll be surprised how much they want to share with you and how much they want to talk about the problems that they're facing every day in their business that, in fact, could be solved, and you may have a great idea that helps solve that.
Interesting. You talk about that. It's almost like a paradigm shift, because there was a time when you could build it and they, and then sell it to those people based on your promotions, your advertising, all of that. You could build a product or service, and it would be driven by you as the business owner. Now it is very much customer driven. The customers and those customer insights, is what really determines, and the experiences that they have in interacting with your brand and your product is really what drives your next step generally in business today. Would you agree with that?
Sure, and that's one of the things that Steve Blank talks about. He says in the old days of engineering, I think it was waterfall engineering is the term that he used. You basically go through all the steps of, prototyping, building, and, doing a little bit of market research, but at no point in that entire process do you talk to the customer. Yeah. And that's the big, takeaway from, years and years of doing this and spending a lot of money and millions of dollars on building a prototype. If no one's going to use it, and if we don't know how they're using it, when they're using it, and if we're not taking that information and then, feeding it back into the model to either build a product that somebody wants or to stop building things that nobody wants, then we're not really moving forward.
Yeah, one of the consulting projects I had many years ago was a $200 million computer company that had an operating system that was dying. It was a dinosaur, the PIC operating system. I don't know if anyone knows about that here, but it was an old operating system. But they still had a very large customer base that was mostly government and those types of institutions and things like that. And they were trying to figure out what new products they could come out with, but it turned out after doing that kind of research and gathering the insights that we're talking about, what they needed to do was to provide more service. So it really wasn't about adding a new product to their product line. It had to do with, customer experiences and how to better service the clients that they currently had. So, well, Mona, you're coming up on, 5? How many days left until the global startup battle?
I think including today, we're at 5 days. So see our countdown clock we have up on our website.
I did see that. So let's walk people really, really quickly through, again, what happens. I go to the website, which is?
Delaware.startupweekend.org.
Okay, and now I'm going to register because this is fantastic. I have an opportunity to be in the room with all these great minds, all of these smart people that have experienced perhaps what I'm going through in terms of trying to bring my idea to fruition. So now I'm excited about it. I've registered, and what happens then?
Okay, so what will happen is you show up Friday. Registration starts at 4 p.m. at the Coin Loft, and we'll have dinner there, a little bit of networking, and then I think officially our kickoff will be around 5:45, where we just announced the event, and I believe Governor Markell is going to show up around 6 o'clock to to say a few words to our community. And, I think it'll be great for participants to see just how interested he is in this event and in all of the great things that our entrepreneurs in Delaware are doing. And he's been an amazing supporter for our cause. So 6 o'clock, he's going to say a few words, and then we're going to jump right into ideation. So ideation, what happens then is people will get up, and whoever wants to pitch an idea will get up and give their 60-second elevator pitch on their idea. And then after those who have those pitches, they're finished, they sit down, and then the entire group will vote on the best of those ideas. And probably about, I'd say anywhere from 8 to 10 of those ideas will get selected. And then those are the ideas that teams will then form around. And it's an organic process where you don't get assigned to a team. You basically gravitate towards the idea that you're interested in building. And if your question is, well, who am I pitching to? The answer is you're only pitching to other participants in the room.
Okay.
So we have about a third of the people of your audience will be technical people who actually know how to code. The other third will be another kind of technical people. They don't know how to actually program the back-end functionality of your site, but they know how to design it. They know the HTML, CSS, and they know the UI, UX part. So that's 2/3 of the audience will have either a back-end technical knowledge or a front-end technical knowledge. And then the remaining third are non-technical people, or, idea people is what we like to call them. So
your marketing people, your
exactly,
that
exactly.
kind of, okay.
People who have the vision and who are kind of going to guide the direction for the people who are actually doing the building and designing. So organically, and based on the registration number I've seen, we do have a very, very great balance. We have about a third, and a third.
Okay.
Which is what we like to see.
So registration is going well.
Registration is going great. But when we do this intentionally, we like to drive those numbers in those proportions completely on purpose. So, and the meaning behind that, or the reason we do that, is because in a balanced team should have about a third, and a third, so that we're building working demos at the end of the day, so that you're not on a team full of people that have great ideas but don't know how to code a website.
Right.
So the idea is to get that nice organic balance. And then Friday night, right around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, we go home, we sleep, get a good night's rest. We start Saturday morning at 9 a.m. You come back to the Coin Loft. We have breakfast for you. And, another thing is we provide you all 7 meals for the whole weekend. We have an amazing list of sponsors that are behind us, who are giving us the ability to really take care of our participants. So every single meal is provided for you. We give you the environment so that you can just put your head down and get to work. So 9 a.m. on Saturday, people come back. They spend all day coding, designing, and we encourage them to actually get outside the building, as John said, and try to talk to some potential customers if they can. We also have coaches and mentors that are going to float around the room around 2 o'clock, I think, on Saturday, just to check in with teams, see where they're going, and to kind of, force the teams to do a bit of a reality check. A little, again, referring back to what John was saying, to sort of tell you if your baby's ugly early on, or sort of to get you to think in those terms. How do you think you have a paying customer? Okay, can you validate that fact? I know it's only a short amount of time, but, you'd be amazed to see the amount of validation that can actually happen. So much so that in the last one, as John said, we actually had a team that had a paying customer by the end of the weekend. So,
well, it's you're condensing. First of all, you're starting with a team that is diverse to the extent that every potential function that would be necessary in developing a startup, is for the most part, taken care of and cared for in that particular model.
Correct.
And then from there, they're serious. Everyone is very serious about this. I can tell that when they come, they are just, their noses down, heads down, and they want to get this done.
And again, there's also a lot of cross collaboration. So all because you're on a team doesn't mean that teams aren't helping one another. If one of our friends like Brad, who you met about a month ago, if he overhears that a team's having trouble with design, Brad's not just going to sit there and say, well, screw them. They're on the other team. Right. Brad will get up and say, guys, listen, it's really easy. Here's how you do it. And that's what we do. That's what we're there for. It is a competition, but the way I like to think about it is, we're representing Delaware.
Yeah.
And so we want to show not just the rest of the country in this instance, but the rest of the world that
Right.
Delaware has some very strong competitors that are going to come out of this 54 hours.
That's
So then
fantastic.
Saturday night, we try to break around 10 or 11. Some teams do wish to stay up and work.
Is this where last week you told them to make sure they
Yes,
go home and take a shower?
I encourage
Sleep.
you to sleep and
Right.
shower for the sake of the rest of us. And
funny.
this year we actually have the Sheraton in downtown Wilmington, who's offered a very special $99 rate for startup weekend participants. So you guys don't have any excuse to go home and get clean this time. Sunday morning, people come back at 9 a.m. Again, we give you breakfast. We have the mentors come in right after lunch. And then around 3 o'clock is your final gut check, and you start to, get your presentation together and make sure your prototype's doing all the things that it needs to be doing, and it's clickable and everything, so that you can show the judges and the final audience, what your product looks like. And so judging starts, I think, around 5 o'clock, and we have a great panel of judges this time. So once the teams get up, they only have 5 minutes to present their prototype, and we get through all of the teams in about an hour. And then judging takes place, and I think the top 3 winners will be picked, but we usually do 3. And then last time we also did an honorable mention.
Right.
It was a social good demo last time that the judges decided, wow, this is just, really great and good enough that it deserves a mention. But the global part of this global startup battle is, I think, the top 2 teams. And I say I think because it's been a little difficult to get information from the Startup Weekend headquarters, but they just released a new website with a little bit more information about how the global battle is going to work and the reason behind, it taking so much time. I mean, this is an incredibly immense effort for them to put together. And
Well,
kind
it's like
of
200 countries.
200
something
plus
like that?
cities all over
Yeah,
the
or
world are going to
cities,
be
okay,
doing this. Yeah. So I think the logistics of how they're actually going to have these subsequent virtual
Competitions,
battles.
right,
Yeah, it's a little bit
exactly.
intricate. But the top 2 teams from each city will then go on to compete against each other over and over and over again until they get down to the finalists.
Okay, and so we have an opportunity to be a part of that
Exactly.
in Delaware. I say we because it is us.
It is
It's
us.
all of us.
Well, you're going to bring your idea, right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
All right.
you've got to at this point. All this talk,
I
come on.
know. Yeah, before someone else now decides, I'm going to take
That's
that
right.
idea. I got to get it out there. Well, this is, again, really exciting. Give everyone, again, the website address or telephone number where they can get more information or register.
Sure, it's delaware.startupweekend.org.
Okay, perfect. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a technical product. I think last time you talked about this young boy who
That's
developed
right.
an idea or something.
The 6-year-old who had the idea for wash-off stickers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so that's great.
So it doesn't have to
any
be-
kind of idea.
Right.
I mean, it does tend to lean towards technology because that's the way the world is going, right?
Sure.
So therefore, I think you probably see more of the ideas coming through would be more of a technology base.
Yeah, but the important thing to remember is that, even the kid who had the idea for wash-off stickers, he may not have had a working prototype of a sticker that can actually dissolve in water at the end of the weekend, but what he had was a prototype frame-by-frame presentation that explained his idea. And, although I wasn't there and I don't really know the details, if I were on his team, I would say, all right, well, let's get you a website that actually explains like an about us and a landing page so that people who come to
you
it,
still need to have
they
that.
can get the
Right.
idea.
Right.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Well, I'm excited. I hope everyone out there is excited. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come right back.
Welcome to Wilmington, Delaware. At Preservation Initiatives, we bring beautiful lofts to you. The recently renovated lofts at 400 Market Street are a must-see. A part of registered National Historic District. Featuring spacious floor plans, custom glass windows, solid surface countertops, stainless steel appliances, custom lighting, wood flooring, large closets, pocket doors, sunny interiors, high ceilings plus beautifully detailed trim molding. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and tastes of Market Street. Just a short walk from the Wilmington riverfront, featuring family-friendly places to enjoy, with plenty of restaurants, entertainment, and other small-town conveniences. Wilmington, Delaware. In the middle of it all. Reserve today. Preservation Initiatives. Urban revitalization through historic preservation.
Preservation Initiatives is a wonderful, wonderful gem that we have here in the city of Wilmington. Don McGinley, its founder, has been developing historic properties since 1979. He's had properties in Boston, Miami, Philly, and now Wilmington. If you want to contact Preservation Initiatives in reference to any of their residential or commercial properties, please call them at 302-543-7565. That's 302-543-7565.
You're listening to WFAI 1510 AM. Welcome back to this week's edition of Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified. If you're just joining us, get your pen and paper ready for more free advice from Carolyn Lighty and her guests.
Welcome back. This is Carolyn Lighty, your host for Evolution Strategies. We're talking today about two wonderful events for the startup community here in Delaware. We have the Global Startup Battle Part 2 discussion, where we were talking to Mona Parikh, Managing Director from Started Up Delaware, and also John Brilliant, who's co-founder and member of the Board of Directors for Started Up Delaware. We are now joined by Paul Morris. He's Director of Corporate and Community Programs, Stanton and Wilmington campuses of Delaware Tech. Good afternoon, Paul.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Great. Another deep voice. I love these voices. I'm going to start playing some Barry White music in the background. Mona's back there laughing. So, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. When I looked at your bio, I said, my goodness, this guy's got to be at least 87 years old when he comes in here, because you've got 1,000 degrees and you've served in the military. You've done an awful lot of things. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Paul.
Well, first, you're too kind. I think I'll be a lifelong listener now for your show. My title is Director of Corporate Community Programs at Stanton Wilmington campus of Delaware Tech, and our division kind of is the community within Delaware Technical Community College. We work with the community in offering workforce development, youth programming, corporate training, those type of initiatives. So one of the I guess courses, or one of the areas that we work in, is entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So we work with community members and individuals that are coming to the college on the credit side or the non-credit side, and trying to help develop their ideas and get them where they need to be, either whether it be a degree or just some training or education to start a business. That's interesting. So,
this is amazing how much we have here. I mean, I've never heard of so much activity around helping businesses get started. I'm really proud to be back here. I moved away. I was gone for 16 years down in Florida, and I'm back now, and I'm just so excited about what I see in terms of downtown Wilmington, because what it looks like now is not what it looked like when I left here. and then all of these wonderful events that are taking place to really help us get our businesses started. You mentioned, corporate training and those types of programs, as well as the entrepreneurship aspect of it. Are you seeing any trends in terms of the types of information that people are coming to you asking for? What are they lacking that they feel that they need to come to the university for?
A lot of times it's confidence, and I think you gain confidence by getting either a credential or having someone validate that you have good ideas or that you have the ability to be successful. Mm-hmm. So our credit side of the house, we have an entrepreneurship program within our business department. And so there's students that come and they know they want to be a business major, but maybe they also know that they want to start their own business. Mm-hmm. So they would go that route. But we have individuals that maybe do not want to wait 2 years or 2.5 years to get a degree. Mm-hmm. They really are looking for just-in-time type of training. Yeah. And so we provide that, whether it be business plan development, whether it be the legal aspects of starting a business, marketing, those type of courses. Mm-hmm. And we used to offer several of those non-credit offerings, but in the last year we've taken a little different of a path in partnering with the Kauffman Foundation, okay, and offering something called Fast Track. And Fast Track are 30-hour courses for new venture, growth venture, and tech venture. And so, it's basically what we were offering before, but it's now packaged in these courses, and it's backed by the Kauffman Foundation, which most individuals know of as the leader in entrepreneurship.
So is Fast Track another tech kind of, I'm going to call it an incubator, but it's not, is it an incubator? Or it's more of a nurturator? That word is becoming back.
Yeah, probably. It's a course, so it's 30 hours.
It's a course, okay.
It's offered one day a week, one evening a week, for 3 hours. But a lot of it is involved into not just a course, but business coaching and mentorship. And so there is a curriculum to the course.
Okay.
But it's really about getting 10 to 15 individuals together on a weekly basis, working through their ideas and having coaches and mentors in the room to help them.
Wow. So it's kind of like Startup Weekend or the Global Startup Battle, but expanded.
Yes.
That's great. So this 1 million cups. Tell me about 1 million cups. Your involvement with it. That's also under the Kauffman Foundation.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
Myself and some colleagues, we were visiting Kansas City, where the Kauffman Foundation is housed, or home of the Kauffman Foundation, for facilitator training to become a facilitator for Fast Track. This is this past January. While we were in Kansas City, we were asked to participate if we wanted to in this 1 million cups, and we didn't know what it was. They said that they were launched about 7 months prior, and their first 1 million cups event, they had 11 individuals, and most of them that were there in the audience, the 11 individuals were Kauffman Foundation employees. The day we were there, 7 months later, there were about 300 individuals in the audience.
Wow!
And that alone kind of resonated in me. I mean, I realized that to go from 11 to 300, I mean, it has to be a winning product. It has to be something that they're doing right.
Yes.
And it was validated when I sat and listened when I sat in the event. And really, what 1 million cups is. It's the tagline is building communities one cup at a time, and really that's what happens. I mean, they've created a model where entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial community come together, and I say entrepreneurs, I mean it's startup, but they come together 1 day a week, every week, at the same time. So, for instance, the national model was 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Every Wednesday in Kansas City. And they came every Wednesday and they listened to 2 6-minute pitches, and followed by 20 minutes of questions. So that 26-minute for each kind of entrepreneur, it's 52 minutes, and the other 8 minutes really are announcements and introductions. So
do they have to come prepared with the PowerPoint or some other kind of presentation?
Yes, but they also could do the pitch right from their mouth. I mean, It doesn't need to. You don't need to use technology. However, a lot of presenters do, and just so it's not confusing, that national model we have now started and launched our model, and we're in Wilmington. We are going from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And the reason why was in an urban environment when you're challenged with parking and other obstacles. 9 o'clock didn't really seem to fit our model, and talking to the entrepreneurial community, we heard that a lot of entrepreneurs want to get their day started. So getting started with a cup of coffee on a Wednesday morning and being able to get out of there by 8:30 was very appealing to the members of this community.
So if you walk me through this, so basically I have a business and I want to come and present to the audience or the other participants. What am I getting for that? Why am I presenting? What is the outcome? What am I looking for?
You're getting a couple things. I think one thing you get is the ability to continue to pitch and practice in front of an audience. I think that's very, very powerful and important for an entrepreneur to gain that confidence, as I started with. But the second thing you're getting is we're trying to create a culture, build on that entrepreneurial ecosystem to where people are coming together. Those in the audience could be made up of other people that have businesses that could help you from a mentorship perspective. There could be investors in the audience, individuals within academics that could maybe help you as well, and just networking. Just we know that Delaware is small. We hear that all the time, but we're really large when it comes to assistance. And I think that's the important piece is subjecting yourself to that environment every Wednesday and building those relationships. And once you build those relationships, you don't know when they're going to come back and assist you. It could be 3 years down the road. It could be 3 days down the road.
Yeah. So it's again connecting those dots. We're all those connectors become so important. No man is an island. Remember that statement. No man is an island. And certainly when it becomes to a small business owner, you can get bogged down in the day to day very easily and get very frustrated.
Sure.
And so being able to have access to a brain trust of folks through the Global Startup Battle, the Startup Weekends, the Coin Loft, Started Up Delaware, and now 1 million cups. It just seems that this is a really ripe time. John, I wanted to ask you to join our conversation here on this a little bit too. And now, have you participated or seen anything as relates to the 1 million cups? Did you go to the event itself that launched last week?
Last Wednesday, yes.
Yeah, I did. We've tried to do it informally, unsuccessfully, quite frankly, with a group of us. And actually just recently an email went out to about, I don't know, it was like 75 of us, I think, to try and resurrect it. So it's interesting timing. No one quite understood why we were doing it, and it's nice to have a framework that the Million Cups provides, because then there's an agenda, there's a set framework, you know what you're getting, whereas before we were trying to do a little more informally.
So now, is this is it a judging activity as well? Because I noticed that you have a list of organizers who have a varied background, very diverse background, who are the local, I guess, the Delaware organizers, and then all these events are taking place. In terms of your involvement in Delaware Tech, what is your involvement? Is it happening at Delaware Tech?
Yes. Well, it is not a judged event. It really is. It's just a place to come and network and listen to 2 pitches per week. Just so there isn't confusion, we have 2 $1 Million Cup programs in Delaware. We have one at our Georgetown campus, which is the Owens campus of Delaware Tech, and they launched this past July. So they've been at it for a few months.
Okay.
And so if you go to the $1 Million Cups website and to the Delaware page, you'll see their information. Our page should be up and running here the next week, hopefully. And so we just launched this past Wednesday. Our organizers we have 4 organizers plus myself.
Okay.
And really the $1 Million Cups, I guess, model is that they didn't want an institution. We are the only and first community college to be part of $1 Million Cups, and so they love the fact that we're a community college, but they didn't want it to be ran by an organization. So we had to recruit local organizers. The organizers for Wilmington, Mark Stellini is one of our organizers, and all these are entrepreneurs with lots of background with lots of businesses and startups. Deborah Schwartz, Scotty Lee, and Michael Ramone. And then along with myself. Okay. So really what the organizers do is they're present on that one Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. every week.
Do you make the coffee?
We do make the coffee. Actually, we don't make the coffee. We found a coffee partner, and our coffee partner at least for the launch and for the first couple of months will be Loma Coffee.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Shouts out to Loma Coffee. I love their new chai.
I'm not a coffee drinker, but we had a variety of waters with different flavors.
Good, so you don't have to drink coffee. You can drink tea or something else.
That's correct, yes. Loma's a great partner because they are literally 1 block from our Wilmington campus.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of our students, they patronage Loma Coffee, and a lot of their customers know the college very well. So, so they were probably the most recognizable partner for coffee, at least in the beginning. We are looking to spread the wealth and get other partners. The great thing that I like about $1 Million Cups, there's not a dollar that changes hands in any of this. I mean, the national model, they don't charge us at all to be an affiliation. Okay. We don't charge any funds for space or for our time. All the entrepreneurs that partner with us they're not paying or being charged anything, and we're not paying them anything. So it really allows us to kind of build this community, and there's no barriers to entrance, if it makes sense.
We're going to take a quick 1-minute commercial break and come right back and finish our conversation about 1 Million Cups.
You can't. Do those magic words motivate you? Has anyone ever told you that you can't? You can't be an entrepreneur. You can't be a business owner. You don't have what it takes. How many successful businesses started without incorporating? I'm John Williams, the president of Inc. Now. For 39 years, Inc. Now has been incorporating first-time entrepreneurs just like you. Over 15,000 companies, from mom and pop businesses to worldwide enterprises. IncNow.com, based in Delaware, can have you incorporated in only a few minutes for $298. Inc. Now makes starting your LLC easy. Learn more about what Inc. Now can do for you. On the web, visit incnow.com. That's incnow.com. What do you have to lose? If you think you can't be an entrepreneur, then don't. I'm here to tell you, you can. Plant a seed. Inc. Now. Dreamers wanted.
And we're back. This is Evolution Strategies, and we're speaking today about startups in the area of Wilmington, and I guess now we're doing all of Delaware, because we have our events taking place in the Dover area at the Stanton College. Is that
actually at our Owens campus in Sussex County?
Sussex County, okay. And we're speaking right now to Paul Morris. He's Director of Corporate and Community Programs at the Stanton and Wilmington campuses of Delaware Tech. We're also talking still with John Brilliant. He's co-founder and member of the board for Started Up Delaware. John, we were talking when we were at break about, kind of this, it's almost like 6 degrees of separation. We keep finding connectors and links and, things in common here. You were going to talk about a success story.
Yeah, so to tie the whole community together, we can use the example that presented at 1 Million Cups this past Wednesday, a company called Penguin Ads, which is started by a couple students at the University of Delaware. I first ran across them on the day that the Horn Program for Entrepreneurship was announced at the University of Delaware. There was a reception. Mm-hmm. They were one of the companies that had come through the Hen Hatch program, as I recall. And they had this idea about wrapping cars with advertising and allow you to actually make money as you were driving down the road, something you do normally, in a very tasteful way that they were doing it. They then went on to participate in one of our 60-second meetup pitches, and actually won, so that entitled them to free space at the Coin Loft. They're currently an occupant at the Coin Loft, and through our network, we've been able to introduce them to potential customers. So it sort of comes full circle in one concrete example of a company started in a dorm room at the University of Delaware.
That's great. That's a wonderful success story. So it's just 2 guys. We know how it is. A lot of very successful multi-billion-dollar .com related endeavors have come out of college campuses. So that's a wonderful thing. And then, Paul, you were going to talk a little bit about those that pitched last week. The 2 these are our existing businesses?
Yes.
Okay, they're
that's
existing
correct.
businesses. Okay.
Penguin Ads was one of those.
Okay.
It's interesting. The other pitch were also 2 University of Delaware students that started a company called Rope It Golf, and basically it's a training device for golfers. And one of the co-owners he presented. And I've known these gentlemen. I went to South Africa on a States mission with these 2 gentlemen this past January, and both good guys, both young. I mean, and they really they have a passion for their product. And so Lewis, one of the co-founders, he presented for Rope It Golf on Wednesday. That's
great. So Rope It Golf, it's a training device, you said?
It's a training aid. Basically, it's a golf ball that's tethered to a cord with a bungee cord that you would go into your backyard and you would hit off the tee. And that's kind of where their product was. They're working with another University of Delaware student right now in developing technology that would track the path of the ball. Not just hit it in your backyard, but it would go right to your iPhone and give you stats and give you metrics
on your swing
yes.
and how you need to correct that. Is golf a big thing around here?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a military background, as you mentioned, and I golfed a lot when I was younger before kids. But in this area there are a lot of golf courses and golf, not just in Delaware, but in Philadelphia and Baltimore.
Whole area. I guess moving back from Florida, where you can't go very far without seeing a golf course, and I don't see it as much, as I'm driving around here. But that's great. So they found a manufacturer for it. Do we actually have the product at this point that they're? They
do. Yes, they have a product. It's I believe it's under $20, and it's packaged. And
it's packaged.
They were when they were in South Africa, they had product with them, so they were going to golf tournaments in the morning and
demonstrating,
kind of selling out, like the kind of the FUBU model where you saw it out of the trunk of your car, same model.
That works. So now that's interesting. So the manufacturing, do you know where that's done? Because obviously I'm always thinking about Milford.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say if we can keep it all in the state,
yes,
then that's even better. I had launched, and here's another one of my ideas, another product that I have, and I found a manufacturer for a hair product that's down in Seaford. They've actually recently sold off to someone else, but I believe that they're referring me to a different manufacturer who is also in the state, because I'm trying to keep it all, all here, keep it all in the same community, in the family, so to speak. So
I got someone for you, Carolyn.
Really? See, again, Mona has someone that we can talk to about that as well. I wanted to ask, again, if you can give some information about how folks can get involved with 1 Million Cups.
Okay, first, the website, the national website, is the number 1, and then Million Cups, MILLIONCUPS.com. If you go to that website, you'll see a link for Delaware, and right now that link will take you to our Georgetown campus.
Okay.
So
that's what I saw. I think that's where I went when I logged on.
You'll see an option in the next week, hopefully, where you'll see one MC Wilmington and one MC Georgetown. You'd be able to click on either one, and then on the website you'll see a link for presenters. So you could click on that link, and there's a very brief application.
Okay.
What the national organization, what Kauffman's trying to do is they're actually going to try to provide some online education for entrepreneurs too. So if you present, prior to presenting, you can go on and take some online tutorials and just get some information before
so
you
you can
pitch.
polish yourself up a little bit before you actually get out there and make the presentation.
Or we can find them a mentor through Started Up Delaware to help them with their presentation as well.
Because we're all connected there. I love it. This is so fantastic. So now if I were to go through the whole process of registering to be a presenter, say, you're saying the information there, it's just a few questions, like are you asking me how long I've been in business and where am I located? Does it matter if I'm a Delaware company or not?
It doesn't matter, no.
Okay.
And it takes about 20 minutes. But I will say this, until we get a month or two into it, what they can do is just reach out to me directly.
Okay. And do you have a number that can call you?
Well, I'll give my email address. It's P as in Paul, Morris, Morris, at DTCC, as in Delaware Technical Community College.edu.
Yeah, when I took a look at the website, which led me to the Georgetown, I guess, campus event, I noticed that there was a lot of diversity in the types of companies there. I did make a copy of what I saw for Penguin Ads, so I had looked at that because I thought that was interesting. You also have some restaurants that were there. If a restaurant is presenting, what exactly are they looking to gain when they're actually presenting their pitch?
Well, I think they're customers, first of all. I mean, to get the word out that they are open and that what type of uniquenesses they provide in the area. One thing that our national model that we follow is that it's a startup, meaning that it's less than 3 years old, and then it's scalable. So I guess someone could make an argument that a restaurant's scalable. I mean, obviously you can franchise it, you can open it in different locations. So you're not going to see probably a whole lot of restaurants doing pitches, but there will be a couple. And mainly it's those organizations that have started a company, maybe a little different than just having an idea, but that they actually have opened for business, and that they're young and they need some some individuals to know what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Why they're doing it. So it's more for them. It may just be, as you say, getting the word out, part of networking, part of maybe building some contacts that can help them move their business forward in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, again, coming from the venture capital standpoint, and if you're sitting in an audience and you're listening to these presentations, what are you listening for?
So at the end of the day, as an investor, you invest in people, not widgets, as I like to say. And so really what you're looking for is passion. You're looking for knowledge of your product, knowledge of your market, a willingness to admit where you have weaknesses and where you have risks. And you never expect as an investor that all risks will be eliminated. It's just not possible. And what you really look for are self-actualized entrepreneurs who at least have assessed risks, and maybe they don't have all the answers of how to overcome those risks, but at least they're aware that those risks exist. All too often, you lose a little bit of credibility when you sit in front of an investor and say, there are no risks in this business. I've retired all the risks. Well, every business has risk, and it's not a show of weakness. It's actually a show of strength. And in fact, you have risks. And the other thing I encourage entrepreneurs to do in sitting in front of investors is to admit where they need help. And it may not just be about risk, but it may be about, hey, I need a great VP of engineering, right? The guy or gal who's working for me now can only get us to a certain level, because nobody knows the business better than the entrepreneur. And as an investor, you're trying to take cues and you're trying to gain diligence and information as to what's going on in the business. And you don't want things sugar-coated. I always like to say that good news should travel fast and bad news should travel faster, right? You really want a entrepreneur who is open and is honest to admitting where there are weaknesses, where they don't have the skills, where they need help. Because that's really what, as an investor, that's what you try and do. Capital is just one piece of the puzzle. And as we've talked from the beginning, it's really about, can I help you with customers? Can I help you with networking? Can I help you find talent? Can I help you, find advisors? Can I help you find board members? It's knowing what are needed. And I think all too often, entrepreneurs who come from a different cut, they tend to be confident, which is great. But admitting that there are flaws is not a show of weakness. It's actually a show of strength. And that's really important.
That's really good. I think that bringing out the fact that it's not just about the capital is extremely important for the listening audience to understand, because just as much as you're wanting to present to the investor your idea so that you can get that funding, you need to be interviewing them to identify their strengths and what they're bringing to the table as well. I think too often we look at it as a one-sided kind of experience. And you agree with that then?
I do, yes.
Okay, Paul. And so, again, let's talk a little bit more about how people can get involved with both of these events. Let's go back to Global Startup Battle. John, can you tell us again how people can get involved with that?
Yeah, you can go to delaware.startupweekend.org or startitupde.com. The Startup Delaware website will provide you a link as well.
And then some information about the Coin Loft. I think that's a wonderful resource with all the businesses in there. I think that other businesses should be calling on the Coin Loft as it relates to maybe the services that they're looking for.
So the Coin Loft is thecoinloft.com. And again, what that is, we know as human beings, we know as businesses, that unless you're interacting with people, you're kind of out there on your own, you're isolated. But if we get you together, magic can happen. And really one of the underlying premises of taking up a desk at the Coin Loft is to surround yourself with like-minded people themselves trying to start businesses. It may be a service provider in the room who can, help you with your idea. Mm-hmm. And so it's really meant to be that facilitation of getting people together, because that's really, and A Million Cups of Coffee is another example where you don't know who's across the room. And it could be someone pretty valuable. It could be a potential customer that's sitting across the room. And so it's just facilitating that. So the Coin Loft does that and allows people to interact with each other. I think we've got 20 companies within and part of our network of Startup Delaware. Not all are physically at the Coin Loft, but they're part of our ecosystem and growing. It's
wonderful. Give me an idea of the different types of companies that you have that are part of that network so that folks understand what's out there.
I'm going to let Mona answer that question. She's better suited.
Okay, Mona.
Sure.
You can roll right up to the mic. Oh, there you are.
we have a number of different kinds of companies. We have freelance web developers and designers who come in and basically operate out of the Coin Loft. And a lot of the most interesting kinds of jobs that, end up organically coming out of that happen because they happen to be working on something for a client, and maybe they get stuck on some part of the design or the code. And then what ends up happening is they end up getting up and talking about it, or somebody will come over and say, hey, what are you working on? I actually know how to fix that. Sometimes, it's just as easy as that. It's a quick fix. But other times, what people realize is, hey, you know what? You seem to be the resident expert in that. So let me just outsource a piece of that job to you. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. And then we have some just, traditional solo businesses that operate out of the Coin Loft. We have a couple of photographers. We have a clothing branding company. So we do also see, people who are not as focused on the web and mobile businesses, but just regular small business owners as well.
That sounds great. So it's very diverse. Again, I don't want folks to think that, unless they're in some kind of technology-based business, then, we don't care about them. We care about all the small businesses.
And just to, even further give you an idea, we have two guys who are actually in there. They're trying to open a restaurant on Route 202, and they needed a place to kind of call their proverbial war room while they're waiting to get it built. So, we welcome anybody who wants to start a business to come in, to connect, and to collaborate. And if you're not sure, or if you don't really know if you'd fit in, then, one of the co-founders, Wes Garnett, one of his philosophies was he felt very strongly about giving people a trial before they commit to one of our membership levels, and our membership levels are pretty reasonable anyways, but before you leap into something, it's really important to make sure it's a good cultural fit for you. So, we invite you to stop by the Coin Loft to set up a tour, just see the space and really get to know us a little bit for a day. Drink some of our coffee, hop onto our Wi-Fi.
Just stop by anytime.
We promise you'll love it.
Well, you guys are a group of very vibrant people, very, very professional and very knowledgeable.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. The thing I want to leave everybody with is that, you're out there struggling perhaps. You have an idea, maybe you already are in business, but understand that you cannot necessarily survive alone, and we don't want you to. Your individual accomplishments will pale in comparison to to what we can achieve together. And that's what I want you to, if you haven't caught that through this show and the other shows that we've been having, we talked about team, we talked about connectors, we talked about how it's important to work and collaborate, and through that we all succeed. So until